members for today's meeting of the Cabinet. We have a number of important issues to consider today's Cabinet meeting, but before we begin the formal meeting, I have some housekeeping information that I need to share. First, please be aware that the meeting is being live streamed and that a recording of the meeting will be available in photography. It's public meeting, so please feel free to take pictures and post to social media during the meeting if you so wish. Third, can I ask everyone to turn their mobile phones to silent or vibrate whilst the meeting is taking place? And finally, in terms of housekeeping notices, there is no fire alarm scheduled for today. So if the alarm sounds a continuous sound, please leave by the nearest marked fire exit and proceed directly to the fire assembly point at the front of the building. If the sound is intermittent, please stay put and await further instruction. Just one thing that's been brought to my attention for those of you who are attending a meeting here for the first time, welcome. We need to be a little more disciplined on mics. Please speak clearly, make sure that you're heard, use your microphone, and when you stop talking, turn your microphone off because there is a propensity to feedback. So if you can just bear that in mind, please. Before we begin the formal proceedings, it's with great sadness that I must report the passing of Mrs Sylvia Simons, wife of the late Alderman George Simons, former Mayor of the City of Peterborough. The committal service for Mrs Simons will take place on Wednesday, the 22nd of January at 1:30 p.m. at the crematorium here in Peterborough. I'm sure you'll join me in sending condolences to their son Nigel, a respected former councillor of many of us, and his family in the meantime. Item 1, apologies for absence. Stan, as Democratic Services Manager, do we have any absences, please?
Thank you, Leader. None received.
Thank you. Item 2, declarations of interest. Does any member wish to declare any disclosable pecuniary interest or non-statutory disclosable interest? I see no hands raised. Item 3, minutes of the 17th of December 2024. Item 3 is to approve the minutes of the Cabinet meeting on the 17th of December. We're asked to approve the minutes held on that date as an accurate record. If any member does not agree, will you be kind enough to raise your hand? Okay, I see no hands raised. Thank you. Item 4, petitions and public questions. Dan?
None received, Leader.
Thank you. Item 5, we're now going to move to consider strategic decisions. Item 5, service regarding day opportunities that support many adults across Peterborough. This is pages 9 to 16 on the agenda. Councillor Shabina Kayum, Cabinet Member for Housing and Communities, will you be kind enough to introduce the report, please?
Hello, Leader. Hello, everyone. I happen to be the Cabinet Member for Adult Social Care and Public Health.
My bad, thank you.
I'll be delighted to introduce this item, actually. So, a pseudo-dynamic purchasing system has been procured to deliver day opportunities for adults. Day opportunities support many adults across Peterborough with learning disabilities, autism, dementia, acquired brain injury, or other support needs. These services will enable the Council to meet its statutory duty under the Care Act 2014. Day opportunities provide activities for people to meet and learn new skills, access training, develop life and workplace skills, and gain independence and opportunities to socialise. Current contracts for day opportunities are due to end on the 31st of March this year, 2025. Cabinet is being asked to approve successful bidders a place on the pseudo-dynamic purchasing system from the 1st of April 2025 and to delegate to the Executive Director of Adult Social Care and Commissioning to make future decisions about invoking the extension periods, awarding uplifts, awarding to a new successful bidders upon the reopening of the pseudo-dynamic purchasing system and awarding call-off contracts. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kayum. Now, members, we will move to questions and debate. Are there any, first of all, any questions for either the Cabinet Member or the Director? Councillor Thorburn.
think it's working, isn't it? No, it's not working. We'll use this one. Thank you, Leader. Just a quick question: is the the purchasing system, does it allow expansion? Because I'm particularly interested in having the ability to have more on the procurement list, so users in the adult social care can actually have a more expansive experience, not just a small amount. And I'm also interested in preventative stuff as well. Does it support that element to it? So it's a full wraparound thing. So I'm just interested in, are people going to get a better experience because of this system?
Thank you very much, Councillor Tholborn, for your question. So just to make you aware, the tender operated on awarding 4 different lots. Lot 1 was divided into 1A and 1B, which were day opportunities for adults with a learning disability or autism. Lot 2 was day opportunities for older people. Lot 3 was to support employment services. And Lot 4 was early intervention and prevention of day opportunities. And under that umbrella, the context of around it was to support these individuals with skills such as cooking, gardening, arts and crafts, drama, trips out to do group activities, music, physiotherapy, sports, sensory room sessions and work experience. What I'd like to do is to bring in the officers to expand a little bit on comparisons between previous tenders and this one to see if there has been in fact any expansion, if that's all right.
Hiya, I'm the commissioning manager for Day Opportunities. I'm Harriet. Hello. Yes, the current contracts have been in place for some time with some kind of outdated KPIs, and a significant amount of work has happened in the last year to work with the people using these services about what would be useful for them, what do they value about day opportunities, what might they like to try. So, for example, people are saying they really want to learn to use a smartphone. So all of that has been folded into the new contract, into new KPIs, into kind of a bit more stringent bits in the contract around how we're going to monitor those KPIs, how we're going to incorporate EDI in the contract monitoring, all of that. And the PDPS also is a bit more flexible than previous contracts. So we've got lots in there for early intervention and prevention day opportunities, which has kind of been designed as a flexible lot, so that if a new requirement comes up in the future, we'll be able to call off that lot to meet the needs that present themselves at that time. So it's been designed as a more co-designed flexible option for the next 4 to 7 years.
And it also gives opportunities for new providers, so to reopen the frameworks when new providers come along, when we have new requirements. You know, we can look for new providers more flexibly than we could do in the past, where it was quite rigid and quite a traditional offer. So I think it does give the option to become a lot more preventative, to try and kind of develop sort of new ways of working. So it just gives a whole load more flexibility than we had previously.
So, okay. Follow up? Yeah, of course.
In my family, it seems like a small thing, but this is going to be a fundamental change to people's lives. I can't tell you how excited I am for family members. And all it is a procurement system. It's going to change. This is hugely exciting as far as I'm concerned. Thanks very much.
It's encouraging. Thanks, Councillor Thorburn. Thank you, Councillor Keom. I've got Councillor Cole, please.
Thank you, Leader, and through you. And similar to Councillor Tholborn, I've got personal experience of a family member needing to have opportunities like this, and they didn't have that opportunity. If I'm a carer or a care group or a care home, and I'm hearing about this service for new day opportunities, new activities, how can I ensure, where do I need to go to sign up to these activities? How can I take part?
Thank you very much, Councillor Cole, for your question. There are a number under the report, a number of service providers who have been awarded the contract. But in terms of the question around care homes and signposting, I will hand it over to the Director for Adult Social Care to attempt to answer the question. Thank you. Or Harriet, actually.
Hiya. So the services that we have going forward in the pseudo-dynamic purchasing system. So these are contracts between the council and the new providers who have been successful. If you were looking to use these services, it would be through the usual route of kind of going through adult social care, and then the adult social care referral through brokerage would let you have your choice of these providers if adult social care had determined that would meet your needs. But there would also, I suppose, be an ongoing impact to not just day opportunities specifically for people we support, but going through these contracts will have a wider impact on the day opportunity provision in Peterborough for everyone, who, not all of whom we support.
Is that okay?
Yes, thank you, Leader.
Okay. And Councillor Jamil, please.
Thank you, Leader. I just want to talk about the tendering process. And I see there's a number of companies, I think 7 companies that bid. How satisfied were you that the companies that you've got will be able to see this through? And was there companies that you didn't go with? Just give us an idea of the tendering process and why we've come to this conclusion that these are the best ones.
Councillor Jamil, thank you for your question. I believe that the tender process is quite a robust scoring system. In terms of elaborating on that system, I'll hand it over to my colleagues as well to answer your question thoroughly.
Thank you for the question. So there's a lot of regulations around our procurement. So our experts in the procurement team have been handling this since the start. So before we even got any bids, we designed questions for the bidders to answer, and a scoring criteria for those, and some kind of pass-fail questions as well. So, for example, bidder had to be based in Peterborough. Once all that was agreed and service user input went into all of those, the tender went out to providers to bid. We received a number of bids back. Some of those were discounted for not having met the basic criteria that we set out. And then we went to a period of evaluating the bidders' responses to each of the questions that we had previously set out against the criteria. Each question was evaluated by 3 separate evaluators who scored them independently, and then went through a period of moderation where everyone who moderated that question then met to agree on a score altogether and provide feedback on why that score was chosen. On the basis of which the weighted score was calculated, and we got to the list of successful bidders in the report. So these are bidders that have been successful dependent on whether their due diligence goes through. So the procurement team, the experts on this, will now be going through further due diligence checks, and also before things get up and running and they start taking referrals, it will also go through kind of due diligence on the commissioning and contracts team. So we will go and visit and ensure that they're ready to take referrals and keep the kind of regular contract management process going to make sure that that is a high quality placement.
I'd just like to add, if I may, Leader, that due to the robust processes in place regarding this scoring system, and those that have been awarded the contract have a very diverse range of skills as well. So they also offer services to diverse populations, and that has been illustrated in the number of service providers that are on the report too.
Thank you. Great question and a great reply. Steve?
Yeah, it's also been, I think, a really good joined-up piece of work with people using services as well, hasn't it, who've been very involved in the process. So got really good involvement from people who actually, the end people who will be using the services, so to help ensure the kind of quality and range of options that we need.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear that these are not only experienced people, but there's a very robust system in place, which is what was suggested in the first place. So, no, that's great. Thank you. Thanks for putting flesh on those bones for us. Members, are there any more questions before we move to debate? Should there be any? Okay, we move to debate. Does anybody... I mean, I think we've had some fantastic questions and responses. Should we move to the recommendations? Okay, colleagues, we're being recommended to approve the award of a place on the pseudo-dynamic purchasing system, PDPS, for the lots as detailed within the reports to the successful bidders who tendered for a place on the PDPS commencing the 1st of April 2020 time for a term to 2025 for a term of 4 years, with an option to extend up to 3 years in increments of 12 months. 2. Delegate approval to the Executive Director of Adult Social Care and Commissioning for 1. The decision whether to invoke the extension periods following the initial contract. 2. To agree an uplift per annum on the contract value subject to the value given in the published contract notice. 3. To award call-off contracts to a successful provider upon determination of the referral process for Lot 1A and Lot 2, and following conclusion of a mini-competition process for Lot 1B, Lot 3 and Lot 4. And 4, for future awards to join successful bidders to the PDPS as and when the PDPS is reopened. Are we content to agree the recommendations? Thank you. That's agreed. Item 6, Domestic Abuse Mobile Advocacy Service. Item 6 is a report. This is pages 17 to 22 in your agenda. A report seeking approval for the procurement of a domestic abuse mobile advocacy service. Can Councillor Alison Jones, Cabinet Member, I think I've got it right this time, for Housing and Communities, please introduce the report.
Thank you, Leader. Supporting victims of domestic abuse in our city is a high priority for this council. Our Domestic Abuse and Sexual Violence Service provides help, information and advice to hundreds of victims every year, helping them to recover and rebuild their lives. It is vital that the support we provide is available in ways that best meet the needs of the victims and that is flexible and adaptable to every single set of circumstances. This is why our mobile advocacy support service is so important. This vital outreach service offers the help that victims need in ways and in places that help victims stay safe and living in their own home or find alternative accommodation. The service is currently commissioned across Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, with the current contract ending on the 30th of September 2025. There is now a need to begin the recommissioning process, and we want to take the opportunity to develop a Peterborough-specific contract to start from the 1st of October 2025, ensuring that our focus is on supporting victims in our own city. This report seeks approval to commence the procurement process for this vital new service with an investment of approximately £140,000 per year. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leader, and through you. I just wanted a clarification on a point. I believe that the service previously had victims travelling to Huntingdon. Is this true, or has it always been in Peterborough, do we know? Because I think this would be really promising to have something local, just as the report says.
Thank you for that, Councillor Keom. Currently it's Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, and this is the ongoing part of the decoupling. So it's us now moving away to have our own service dedicated to Peterborough. So that's so the same support, if you like, but this is now be our focus on Peterborough.
I think that's really encouraging.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Keom. Councillor Jamil.
Thank you, Chair. Funding again, I'm afraid. Can you just give an idea of where this money is coming from? Is it a direct grant? Is it how are we going to fund this? So we have an idea of how sustainable it is going forward as well.
Yes, there was no cost to the council, so we are not having to fund it. It actually is being funded and supported for us by the MHCLG for £770,000 in total. But I will now hand over to the Executive Director of Place and Economy in case you would like to add something on top of that. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Jones. Actually, nothing to add. I think that was the perfect response. So 100% grant funded as part of a larger umbrella grant known as the Safe Accommodation funding grant allocation. So, this sits within that, as Councillor Jones described.
Just moving on from that, so can you explain to me how the process would work? Because I know it was with Cambridge County Council, and now we're going alone finally, thank God. But just explain how it would be going forward. So when we start, would we employ a person? How the houses? How does that work?
Yeah. The service will actually be that a phone service or an email service, exactly what you have now. And obviously this process to go out and procure that will be to look at the best resources that we have. So again, it's hard to give a specific how many employees it might have. It depends on the company that we actually then use. But the service will be that first point of contact on a phone, on an email line, be it the victim or somebody that you think is actually at risk of actually being a victim of abuse, or again, professional advisors. So it will go through that same process. So for the people using the service, they wouldn't see any different really. It's just how it will be dealt when obviously it gets registered on the system to make sure that that victim's journey is specific and sort of like work through with them. Does that answer the question sufficient? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones, and thank you for your question, Councillor Jamil. Are there any more questions and or debate if not? Councillor Kao.
I would like to actually, as a matter of record, just highlight to members' attention that previously when we had the SARC service, people had to travel to Huntingdon for this. And given that many women will find themselves in a vulnerable situation, especially when something as awful as sexual assault were to take place, I don't think that the conversations around it have happened enough. And I'm really happy, actually, as somebody's got a clinical hat on, that women can feel reassured that they don't have to travel long distances for help, support and advice. And it's here within our city. And I'd really like to just make that point. I think it's wonderful. Thank you.
I completely agree with you. Adrian.
Thank you, Leader and Councillor Kayam. Just to kind of embellish that a little bit, the real uniqueness, I think, of this contract will be its flexibility and taking services out to victims in places that are most convenient and suitable for those victims, rather than a victim of domestic abuse is already struggling probably to face up to the fact that they're a victim, having then to go a distance to receive a service. This is about turning that on its head and saying, sharing information about where victims can get the support they need, absolutely, but also making sure that we're there at a place, at a time, and in a location which is most convenient and safest actually for that victim. So, just to further really support your comment, I think this is a really strong step forward for the city's support services.
Thank you, Adrian. Have you got a question, Councillor Cole?
Thank you, Leader, and through you. Thank you, Adrian, for explaining that. It's really important that victims or survivors can go to a space that's safe for them. If you are somebody, so what's this service going to look like moving forward? And if you're somebody who doesn't speak English, how can you assure that this service is going to be fit for all?
Yeah, thank you very much. Obviously, the demographic profile of our city tends to be mirrored in victims or survivors of domestic abuse. So the criticality of having a service which can meet the needs of everybody, whether that's about language, additional needs, physical needs, as I've said, whether it's about taking people to a place where they feel safer and able to talk, all will be baked into the specification for this service. I think the word flexibility is a word I've used already this afternoon, and I think that's what this contract needs to provide. So where we know our cohort of victims and survivors at any one time, it's really important that the core staff, to come back to Councillor Jamil's earlier comment, that are employed by the council have a strong, very dynamic relationship with the contractor, so that the contractor is fully aware of the profile of that cohort, so that they can adapt services to meet those needs. And if that's about making sure that there is There are staff available who speak different languages, who can be culturally aware, materials made available in different languages, and so on. All of that has to be baked into the contract, and very much will be baked into the contract. The other important point to make is that we all comment about it all of the time, that we've got a really strong network of voluntary sector organisations in our city, some of whom already operate in this space, many of whom don't, but all form a network of eyes and ears out there in the community, whether that's pure voluntary organisations or support services in the public sector. And so this service will need to be embedded within that network as well, so that, again, support, referrals, information can be shared in the best way possible, but in multiple ways that make sure we reach the very people that need the service.
Thank you. And just as you were saying, with the flexibility, it's not just for women, so men are able to access this service as well.
Very much so, yes. This is an all-gender service.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Cole. Councillor Jamil.
I too was going to ask the question, is this victims are male and female. So I'll move on. And I'm glad that we're starting the process now. And we've got 9 months to get the best service in place. So I would, I'm quite happy to go with the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Jamil. Anybody else like to contribute anything, either in terms of questions or debate? Okay, I see no hands raised, in which case I'm asking colleagues, 1, to approve the procurement of a domestic abuse mobile advocacy service, and 2, delegate authority to the Executive Director for Place and Economy to award and execute a contract for the provision of domestic abuse mobile advocacy for a 3.5-year contracting commence on the 1st of October 2025 with 2 one-year extension periods. Are we agreed? We are. Thank you very much indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the meeting. Although it's one of our shorter Cabinet meetings, these are 2 items of great importance and value to the people of Peterborough, and I thank you for your questions, for the information that you've given us, that we all know exactly where we are and how we will benefit from them. Just leaves me to close the meeting, wish everybody a safe onward journey. Thank you, everyone.